Hello and welcome to this comparison video on these 4 lawn mowing robots from Mammotion. The goal of this video is to present the 4 robot mowers and give you my opinion after several months of use, and especially to help you know which is the best robot mower for your garden. Before starting, know that you get a €50 discount on each of the robot mowers. To give you a quick overview, here we have the Luba 2, the Luba Mini, the small Yuka Mini and the classic Yuka. I'll first show you all the common points of these 4 robot mowers, and then we'll look at all the differences. All 4 have a front camera which will detect objects and provide a video feed. The difference with the 4 robots will be that the Yuka won't have any lighting, while the Yuka Mini will have a small light in the front. The Luba Mini will have it around here, and the Luba 2 will have it integrated into the camera. These 4 robots will position themselves using an RTK antenna. Thanks to this antenna, they'll be able to navigate around the garden. Personally, at my place, I didn't have any trouble. The sky is pretty open, I don't have too many trees, and recently we've had the option to switch to 4G. It's a rather innovative system that removes the need for the RTK antenna. The only downside is that you'll need 4G. The good news is that for 1 year, you get free 4G on each of the robots, and then it will be €50 per year. Actually, the big advantage of Inavi is especially useful if you notice that with the RTK antenna, the signal is weak in your garden. This allows the robot to still position itself accurately. We'll also be able to schedule the 4 robot mowers, telling them to mow on specific days at specific times. Personally, I had it mow every 3 days at a fixed interval. They're also super easy to install using your smartphone and Bluetooth. Basically, you'll map out your garden precisely, allowing the robot to position itself correctly. The 4 robot mowers are also waterproof, and each one has a rain sensor. Another thing in common is that they all come with a 3-year warranty and customer support that seems fairly responsive. My neighbor actually had an issue with his Yuka. The camera was faulty, it was late winter, and he received a new camera within a week. Then he was able to remove and replace it easily. Don't hesitate to check out forums too, for example. And by the way, at Mammotion's spring party, the CEO confirmed that they'll be putting more effort into customer service. That's really a super interesting point. They're quite similar in many ways, especially the wheels, which are totally the same. They're all 4-wheel drive. They can handle slopes up to 80% or 38 degrees. I tested the Luba Mini on a 35-degree slope, and honestly, it was pretty impressive. It handles itself very, very well. There are also front shock absorbers, allowing the robot to adapt to difficult gardens. The rear wheels are exactly the same. They're grooved and the same size on both robots. The Luba Mini will be much smaller since it only has 1 cutting deck. We'll look at that just after. The Luba 2 is much wider, much bigger, and much heavier. The handles on both robots are on the sides. The big difference is here. With the Lubas, you can go on 38-degree slopes, whereas with the Yukas, it's totally different. Both Yukas will only have 2-wheel drive. The Yuka Mini is really light, and it only weighs 10 kilograms. So if there are a lot of slopes, it will skid at the back quickly, and these 2 robot mowers can handle slopes up to 45%. I find the Yuka struggles a bit less on 35 to 40% slopes. Beyond that, it will skid. Same for the Mini. Since it's light, these aren't necessarily the best robots for gardens with holes, bumps, and especially a lot of slopes. If you have real slopes, I'd rather go for one of the 2 Lubas. These 2 adapt very, very well to bumps and holes. The Yuka will have a front wheel, while the Yuka Mini will have 4 wheels with 2 pivoting ones at the front. So at the front, the difference will also be in the mowing surface. The Luba 2X will have 2 versions. The 3000 version, which can handle areas up to 3,600 square meters, and the 5000 version for up to 6,000 square meters. The Luba Mini will also have 2 versions, 800 and 1500. We also have some margin for going over those areas, although I wouldn't really recommend it for 1,500 square meters because it'll take a long time to mow. Just to give you an idea, for 500 square meters, you should expect about 10 hours of mowing, whereas the Luba 2 will go much faster. The Yuka Mini comes in 4 versions and can go up to 1,100 square meters. The Yuka comes in 2 versions, 1,000 and 2,000, and can go up to 2,600 square meters. There's also a difference in cutting height. On the Yuka, it goes from 2 centimeters to 9 centimeters, and it's done manually. The Yuka Mini goes from 2 centimeters to 6 centimeters, whereas on the Lubas, it's done automatically. The Luba Mini goes from 2.5 centimeters to 6.5 centimeters. The Luba 2 goes from 2.5 to 7 centimeters. Also, on the Yuka, we have the option to attach a collection bin with a sweeper. It gets attached to the back of the robot, and you can add an extra battery. Basically, this bin will empty itself automatically, and it will allow you to clean and collect, for example, leaves and grass, thanks to its rear sweeper, which will send everything directly into the bin, and then the robot will empty itself. Honestly, it's not the option I recommend 100%, but if later on you notice you have a lot of leaves, it could be useful. One very important thing as well is the autonomy of each of the robots. In terms of battery, the Luba 2 will have a 12 ampere hour battery. The Luba Mini, the 800 version, will have a 4.5 ampere hour battery, and the 1500 version, a 6.1 ampere hour battery. The Yuka Mini comes in 4 versions, including the 500 and 600, which will have a 2.4 ampere hour battery. The 700 version will have a 4.5 ampere hour battery, and the 800 version, a 6.1 ampere hour battery. And the Yuka will have a 4.5 ampere hour battery with the possibility to add an extra battery to power the collection bin. So in total, we can go up to a 9 ampere hours. Another important thing, the battery is accessible on all 4 robot mowers. On the Yuka, it's located here underneath the robot. On the Yuka Mini, there's this small cover to remove, and it's a battery that can be unclipped. Same on the Luba Mini, exactly the same system. On the Luba 2, I didn't unscrew it to check, but I think the battery is also accessible. It must be somewhere underneath. If you tell me you have a garden between 1300 and 1500 square meters, clearly between the 2 Lubas, I would go for the Luba 2, which will mow much faster. Between these 2 robots, it's going to be about the same. If you tell me you have 1000 square meters, without hesitation, I would go for the Yuka. The Yuka Mini can also mow 1000 square meters, but it will take much more time. The only one of the 4 robots that doesn't have a bumper is the Yuka Mini. So actually it's just one solid block. There's no physical bumper. The advantage of the Yuka is that here we have a bumper across this whole section, allowing it to bump into, for example, a tree and physically detect the object. On the Lubas, the bumper is located here and here. And on the Luba, you can clearly see the front shock absorbers. What will be very interesting to look at is underneath the robot mower with the different cutting decks. On the new Lubas, we still have 2 decks, but with 6 blades per deck. The quality of the mowing is really good on all 4 robot mowers. It's honestly excellent. The width of the deck will be 20 centimeters, and in total we have 40 centimeters of width for the Luba 2. There's also quite a bit of spacing here to avoid dirt and grass from sticking. It's super easy to remove. You just need to scrape a little and it comes off. It cleans very well. You can also easily change the blades on all the robots. And of course, I'll tell you which one mows the closest to the edges, to the borders. On the Luba Mini, we have a single centered deck with 6 blades, also with a lot of spacing around, and the deck will be 20 centimeters wide. The Yuka Mini, on the other hand, will be a bit smaller. Its deck will be 19 centimeters wide, and it will have 5 blades instead of 6. Same here, the mowing quality will be excellent. On the Yuka, it will be small 16 centimeter decks. On the new Yukas, we no longer have 3 blades but 5 blades per deck, and a slightly bigger wheel. As you'll notice, it's the only one that has 3 wheels. That's not really a problem, as long as your garden is relatively flat, without too many bumps. In total, the deck width will be 32 centimeters. Then we have large grooved wheels at the back, much bigger than on the Yuka Mini. Also, to protect the deck, we have this part on all 4 robot mowers. The one that will mow the closest to the edges will be the Luba 2, because here there are only 5 centimeters between the protective cover and the blade. Then it's the Yuka with its 2 decks, followed closely by the Yuka Mini and then the Luba Mini, which will leave a bit more uncut grass since its deck is really centered. Honestly, if you have a flat garden, I clearly recommend either the Yuka or the Yuka Mini. If you have a more difficult garden with holes, bumps or slopes, I wouldn't hesitate to go for either the Luba Mini or the Luba 2. These are really very good robot mowers for complex gardens, and if you have a large area, don't hesitate to spend a bit more. The Luba Mini is really good, except it will take a lot of time to mow. Afterward, it will recharge automatically, so in the end, it's not a big deal. But for an area of 1,300 to 1,500 square meters, I wouldn't hesitate to choose the Luba 2 or the Yuka, They're great robot mowers for large surfaces. And if you want to order a Mammotion robot mower, you get 50 euros off. I'll put the link in the video description. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.